Good afternoon. My name is Shauna Vance, and I proudly serve as the CEO of Glean's Human Resources Commission. We are so excited that the day is finally here, the unveiling and the dedication of our Dr. Benjamin E. Mays statue. This is a long-awaited event. We anticipate anywhere from 500 to 800 people to come share in this wondrous occasion with us. This program is packed with speakers from near and far who are going to bring us a message from their encounter with Dr. Mays. We are really excited here at the Glean's campus.
Okay, my name is Ralph Alsop. I'm a clinical psychologist with a PhD from NYU, and my wife is the great-granddaughter of Dr. Mays. And when we decided to move down south, my wife wanted to live with Dr. Mays in his latter years, so my family, the 2-year-old and 1-year-old daughter, lived with Dr. Mays for 2 months in his house, and we ate at his breakfast table, and we were privy to all the knowledge that he had to give to us, and that I kept that going in terms of my children, to let them know what famous person's blood runs through their veins. And they've kept that up, and they'll be here today. They're in their 30s now, but they are very much aware of who they are and who that great man was, whose table we ate at for months in his house in Atlanta, Georgia. I got it. I know you got
All right. Retired then shit, yeah. Little infinity tie, little infinity knot for my brother, Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. Amen.
Hey, my brother. Yeah, you doing well. All right, doing fine. Oh, me. He was also superintendent of the Atlanta. Yeah, Bill was going all over to tell me all about it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I had real bad.
all the time. Good afternoon. Good afternoon again. My name is Shauna Vance, and I proudly serve as the Chief Executive Officer of Gleam's Human Resources Commission. As your presiding officer today, let me be the first to welcome you to the Dr. Benjamin E. Mays Statue Unveiling and Dedication Ceremony here at the Gleam's Dr. Benjamin E. Mays Historical Preservation Site. We are so excited to have you here with us today on our Gleam's campus to share in this momentum occasion. We have a program lined with speakers bringing greetings and messages to you from near and far. We do not want you to miss this valuable information. As such, we ask at this time that you please silence your cell phones to ensure we are able to absorb the information of our speakers without interruption. We are thankful that the rain clouds that have teased us all day have decided to go away. However, if you find that the sun exposure is too much for you, you are welcome to shade over in our tented area. In addition to that, cold beverages in the green tent to my left are also available to you at no charge. Should anyone become too uncomfortable, our EMT services are right behind me to my left. Please make those services available to yourself should you become too uncomfortable in this weather. Lastly, we have restrooms available here in the Mays Museum. However, we ask that if you use those restrooms, that you avoid coming through this area in front so as not to block our videographers who are filming the ceremony this afternoon. Without further ado, we will proceed with the program as outlined. First, bringing you welcomes on behalf of the Gleam's Board of Commissioners is our board chair, the Honorable Betty Bowles, who also serves on the Greenwood City Council. Welcome will be followed by our beloved Dr. Joseph D. Patton, CEO Emeritus of Gleam's Human Resources. We will also have a welcome brought to you by the Honorable Welburn Adams, who serves as the mayor of our city of Greenwood and also as a member of our Gleam's Board of Commissioners. Lastly, the Honorable Gonza Bryant will bring you a welcome on behalf of the Greenwood County Council as our councilman for District 3. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to stand here. I have a long list, but the sun is really warm. On behalf of our Gleam Board of Commissioners, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Dr. Benjamin E. Mays Statue Unveiling and the Dedication Ceremony. We are so delighted to have you share this occasion with us. We would like to recognize a few of our dignitaries and our distinguished guests. Congressman Jim Clyburn and Congressman Jeff Duncan and Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator Tim Scott was unavailable to be with us today, but they send their well wishes. We have with us the State Senator Floyd Nicholson. If you could stand, please. State Representative Julia Ann Parks, our Mayor of the City of Greenwood, Welburn Adams. We also have with us our Gleam's Board of Commissioners. When Mayor Adams is already standing, he's also served on our commission. Ms. Louise Kemp Settles, Angela Garrett, please stand, please. Janice Robinson, Ms. Bernice Miller, Mr. Charles Jennings, Mr. Zebby Garlock, Ms. Jacqueline Reinhardt, Ms. Mamie Shippey, and Miss Betty Kenner. I'm sorry, I didn't have your name down. We also have with us the Greenwood County Council. If any of you are here, please stand. We have with us thank you, Miss Childs and Miss Moses. Mr. Moat. And we also have with us our county manager, Toby Chappell. Greenwood City Council, could you please stand? Thank you. Nikki Hutto and Councilman Matthews. We also have with us our city manager, Charlie Barano. And with us is the Mighty 6th District Omega Phi Psi fraternity. If you stand, please. Psi Phi. Psi Phi, I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous. Thank you. We also have with us the Zeta Phi Beta sorority. We have Delta sorority. Could you please stand, please? And we also have with us our Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority and our Epsilon Gamma Gamma chapter Omega for fraternity. Could you please stand, please? Thank you. Many, many years ago, Glean's Board of Commissioners joined an ambitious Dr. Joseph D. Patton, our CEO Emeritus, in embarking upon acquiring a birth home of the remarkable Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. Today, this venture has become a magnificent site known as the Glean's Benjamin E. Mays Historical Preservation Site. As a community action agency committed to our mission of aiding those in poverty and to achieve a better quality of life, we are often asked why we at Glean's developed a historical preservation site. Growing up, as Dr. Mays would say, on the rags of the edge of poverty, the Mays Historical Site serves as a reflection of those who seek assistance from Glean's, that education, determination, and hard work are essential tools in breaking the walls of poverty and building the ladder of self-sufficiency. Those who seek service from Glean's are inspired by Dr. Mays under his conditions could succeed, then surely they can succeed. For Dr. Mays said, "It is not your environment, it is you, the quality of your mind, and the integrity of your soul, and the determination of your will that would decide the future that shape your life." Welcome to Glean's. Welcome to our dedication and unveiling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You know, I was sitting here looking at all of the people that I have met while I was at Glean's in the past 15 years. And it makes me feel good to know that we still have the support of the community. When we embarked upon this project, a lot of people would ask me in the street, why on earth, when they put that house out here, they said, well, why you put that raggedy house out there? And I told them, I said, well, just give us a chance. You'll see what it'll look like sooner or later. Then I went to several organizations in the community, and they got behind us financially and in spirit. And the development began. As with everything you do, I would pray every night that something would happen to cause us to bring this project to fruition. And in doing that, God sent me Lloyd Sutton. And Lloyd said, and look, Lloyd Sutton realized that I had ideas, but I didn't have the skills to make them work. And he went to work with me, and he identified people in the Mays family, Mays former Secretary Sally Warner, and at the same time, we made a visit to Morehouse. And while we were down at Morehouse, there's an impressive statue of Dr. Mays. And we sat there and looked at that statue, and we said to each other, now that's something we can do once we get this museum put together. We can get someone. Matter of fact, we tried to contact, and I think Lloyd may have contacted the original sculptor of that statue at Morehouse. But for some reason or another, we were unable to employ his talents. So we found someone that could do it. And during the meantime, we went to Baltimore at the Wax Museum. And they had a wax model of Dr. Mays. And I was not really impressed with the way it looked. So I told Lloyd, I said, Lloyd, we got to find somebody that can do a real good job for the people in Greenwood to come, because that statue of Dr. Mays is a beacon for young people. And when they come to this museum and this preservation site, to see what a man can do coming from that meager building over there and struggling and walking 7 miles to school every day, and what he could achieve, then they could realize that they could also. The last thing that I want to mention, I met Dr. Mays years ago in Spartanburg, and I see people from Mays. It was Mays High School then. It's Mays, that's the Mays group out there. Dr. Mays came and did the dedication to Mays High School. And I never will forget, I was with my mother and grandmother, and Dr. Mays looked at me, and he's a tall man. He said, young man, are you in school? I said, yes. I think I was about 12 or 13. He said, stay in school, because there's a number of things that you can do. And remember this. Everybody can be somebody, but anybody can be nobody. And I remembered that from Dr. Mays. And I'm saying to all of you, all of this represents his achievement. And he has inspired a number of students. He was at Morehouse for 27 years. He's a legend, and he was known as the nation's schoolmaster. And we hope that Dr. Mays' memory will be cherished and carried on out here. This was all woods when we first started it, but it is complete, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm sitting down now, somebody's looking at me thinking, what is he doing? Right out here, when this place was put up, I realized then that Greenwood, as far as I'm concerned now, two very important people with international recognition came out of Greenwood. One of them was William Jennings, William Jennings Bryan Dorn. And the other one was Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. He was the mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King. And also, as far as I'm concerned, if it had not been for Dr. Mays, there would have never been a Dr. King. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the proceedings.
Good afternoon. As mayor of the city of Greenwood, I just want to welcome each and every one of you to Greenwood. We are delighted to have you here. This will be the first life-size statue in Greenwood, as well it should be. You know, I'm lucky enough that I can walk to the Benjamin Mays Museum, and I've been educated by Lois Sarton and Chris Thomas, and one of the things that I've learned is that Dr. Mays was there for the Phoenix riots. He was touched by it. He saw Greenwood at its worst, and he became the best to come from Greenwood. It's an incredible transformation. And I think it took Greenwood a while to welcome him back, to recognize him, and to pay the tribute that he was deserved. And I think someone who put us on the course to that recognition was the president of Lander, Dr. Larry Jackson. So I think he definitely deserves to be acknowledged for starting this process. And the final thing I'll say is I've been to enough of these Benjamin Mays events to know that we're going to hear a lot about Morehouse. But before he went to Morehouse, Dr. Mays went to Bates. And as a parent of a Bates student right now, I would like to welcome, it's a long way to Lewiston, so anybody here from Bates, I really want to recognize them. Welcome to Greenwood. Thank you all.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We are excited to be here today, and as the members of Greenwood County Council joins me, I want to tell you that you are in a good place. There are 46 counties in the state of South Carolina, and you presently sit in Greenwood, South Carolina, one of the best counties in this state. And I want you to know that we are proud and happy to have this statue unveiled here in Greenwood, in District 3, in Greenwood, South Carolina. As members of council come, I'm just excited today. I was born in the Old Brewer Hospital some days ago, just a few days ago. And now to honor such a great man, a legend from Greenwood, South Carolina, honorable man. These members of Greenwood County Council and County Manager join me in reading a resolution to ask the CEO of Gleams and the Chairman of the Board of Gleams to join me. And we're delighted to have most members of Greenwood County Council present this afternoon. Chairman is coming up with us and join, and we want to present you. All right. State of South Carolina, County of Greenwood. A resolution honoring Dr. Benjamin E. Mays at the Mays Statue Dedication Ceremony. Whereas Dr. Benjamin E. Mays was a native of Epworth, South Carolina, and born on August 1st, 1894 to Miss Lavinia Mays and Hezekiah Mays, and the youngest of 8 children, and died on March 28, 1984, and entombed on the campus of Morehouse College. And whereas Dr. Mays grew up on a farm, learned to read at an early age, taught by his older sister, enjoyed writing and reading, and gave his first speech when he was 9 years old at the old Mount Zion Baptist Church. And whereas Dr. Mays gained his education over the years and accomplished his BA at Bates College in Maine in 1920, his MA in 1925, and PhD at the University of Chicago School of Religion. And whereas Dr. Mays moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and became ordained as a Baptist minister, accepting a pastorate at Shiloh Baptist Church, where he served from 1921 to 1923. And whereas Dr. Mays served as the president of Morehouse College for 27 years, beginning in 1940, and his most famous student at Morehouse was Dr. Martin Luther King, who he mentored and was one of the most articulate and outspoken critics of segregation at that time. Whereas Dr. Mays is remembered for his leadership and service as a teacher, preacher, mentor, scholar, and activist in the civil rights movement. And whereas Dr. Mays held leadership roles in many national and international organizations such as the NAACP, YMCA, and World Council of Churches, and the United Negro College Fund. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Greenwood County Council, duly assembled as the following. Greenwood County Council does hereby deem it an honor as well as a privilege to extend a Greenwood County welcome to those gathered for the Mays Statue dedication ceremony. Dr. Mays is a significant figure in American history, one of the great architects of the civil rights movement, and a proud native son of Greenwood County. All orders, resolutions, and parts thereof in conflict herewith are, to the extent of such conflict only, hereby repealed, and this resolution shall take effect in full force from and after this passage and approval. All orders, resolutions, and part of conflict hereof, to the extent with such conflict only, hereby repealed, and the resolution shall take effect and be in full force. The resolution becomes effective upon enactment by a majority of members of Greenwood County Council, and most of them are all present. Now, as these 5 members and county managers join us, we say to you that we are happy to have this statue been unveiled in Greenwood County. We believe this is an honor for us and for you all, and for everybody attending today. So on behalf of Greenwood County Council, our chairman and others, thank you so very much, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
On behalf of the Gleams Board of Commissioners, on behalf of the staff at Gleams, thank you so much to the Greenwood County Council for the resolution. We will proudly place that resolution in our museum to hang for all to see to memorialize this date. As we call for the next program group to come up, we'll ask again for any of our guests that are standing. We have some seating up in the front. It'd be our pleasure if you would come in and fill in the seats up front. For any Gleams board members, there's some additional seating here available for Gleams board members. Next on our program, we have Reverend Adrian Weidman, pastor of the Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church, who will read a scripture for us, followed by invocation by the Reverend Dr. Danny Webb, pastor of Old Mount Zion Baptist Church, Childhood Church of Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, followed by state and national significance brought to us by the Honorable Floyd Nicholson, South Carolina Senator, and the Honorable J. Ann Parks, representative with the South Carolina House of Representatives. Lastly, you'll hear a musical selection from Miss Felicia Rhines, a family advocate with our Gleams Head Start program.
Good afternoon. Scripture this afternoon will be coming from Psalms 112, reading from the New King James Version of the Bible. You will find these words are written. Blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who delights greatly in his commandments. His descendants will be mighty upon the earth. The generation of the upright will be blessed. Wealth and riches will be in his house, and his righteousness endures forever. Unto the upright there arises light in darkness. He is gracious and full of compassion, and he is righteous. A good man deals graciously, and he lends. He will guide his affairs with discretion. Surely he will never be shaken. The righteous will be his everlasting embrace. He will not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is steadfast, trusting in the Lord. His heart is established. He will not be afraid until he sees his desires upon his enemies. He has dispersed abroad. He has given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever. His horn will be exalted with honor, and those that are wicked will see it and be grieved. The word of God for the people of God. Amen.
Would you bow? Our God of ages past, our hope for years to come, our shelter from the stormy blast, and our eternal home. Dear God, we gather here today to pay homage for one that honored you through service for humanity. And Father, as we come today to honor you through his accomplishments, upon our society, we simply say thank you for Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. Father, we thank you for all that he meant to the Greenwood community, to the state of South Carolina, to this nation and this world. Father, we pray your continued blessings upon the Mays historic site. Continue to lead, guide as only you can, and we honor you in all things. In your name we pray and ask it all. Amen. Amen.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I can definitely say this is a very honorable occasion for me to be a part of, because this is a process that I've been involved with for many years, and I can say I consider it one of the most important projects that I've been involved in since I've been an elected official, and that's been about 30-some years. You know, like Dr. Patton said, years ago when it started with the Mays project, first the relocation of the house, you know, I really wanted to be involved because Mount Church is Mount Olive Baptist Church, and by the way, this is my pastor. And it sort of takes a spin. He was my student at one time when I was a junior high administrator. Now he's my pastor. But I used to pass by that house every day, a barn that had hay in it, the home of Dr. Mays. And when they started this process, we immediately, my wife and myself, said, hey, we want to be involved in that because we knew how important Dr. Mays was, not only to Greenwood, not only to South Carolina, not only to the United States of America, but to the entire world. Because for one thing, if it had not been for Dr. Mays, I would not be in the position I'm in today. And a lot of other people would not be in the position they're in if it were not for the contributions of Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. So we got on board. And the first thing was dealing with the relocation of the house. And me and my wife was home one night and said, hey, let's get out of a church to have a banquet to generate some funds to help with that. And we did it. And we raised about $30,000, and we got for the speaker, Jim Clyburn. A friend of mine came down and he was the speaker. And at that time, we was working on getting it on the National Register and getting about $500,000. But there was a stipulation. In order to be on the National Register, the house had to remain in the same site. And it was impossible for the house to remain in that site because it was a problem getting that house from that site. We had to move it a certain distance, had to do it at night, But what happened? We did it. We did it. We worked together to accomplish this. So once the house was relocated, we did the interpretive center and other things. And that's why in the legislature, Representative Parks and myself, we were instrumental a few years ago in getting $200,000 from the state to help with this project. Important. And so that's why it's so important that we never forget those individuals who paved the way so that we could be respectable citizens. If you ever read Dr. Mays' book, Born to Rebel, it'll bring tears to your eyes. If you've never read it, read that book. So I just commend everyone who's been involved in this project, like Dr. Patton said, and Mayor Adams, Dr. Larry Jackson, who brought Atlanta University to prominence, was very instrumental in that project. I remember when Dr. Mays came to Greenwood in the name of the Mays Crossroad down there. A great day. But this is something that we can be proud of. And like I always say, it's not where you come from, it's where you're going, or where you want to get to. And as you know, education is the key, and education will forever be the key. And we need to do everything we can to make sure every student gets the best possible education. And as I close, I know last night they had a forum of Atlanta about Dr. Mays. And you know, when I first read about it, I was excited. And the reason why, I looked at the names of the people on the panel, and there was a Greenwood native who is an outstanding professor now. Zach, would you please stand? Zach Williams. Another one of my students from when I was a junior high administrator, doing an excellent job. So again, thank you everyone, and we're just going to ask for your continued support of the Mays Project here, because this is a historical site for the entire world. Thank you, and may God bless you. Amen.
Good afternoon. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to stand here today. I've had the privilege to watch, and maybe watch a little bit closer than most of you, because I live right across the street, so I was always here. And it brought back memories to me when Dr. Patton said that this was a field, because this is where I used to walk my dogs. This was their playground every day. But to see how far it has come, and the two gentlemen that the site got to restore that house, it was only two gentlemen, and they did it plank by plank every day. And I was just amazed at the finished product that they had when the house was finished. But the commission of the Mays site has done a marvelous job. And today, I want to say that in Greenwood, in District 12, it's a great day in South Carolina. And of course, this sits in the best district in the state of South Carolina, because it's my district. Out of 124 districts, District 12 is very unique in that we have something that nobody else has. We have the Mays site, we have the Historical Museum, and today we have a statue. But it just gives me joy and pleasure, because I was with Senator Floyd on some of those meetings and getting the house here to begin with. And you would not believe the people and places that wanted it. But we were determined not to let it go any further than it is today. So I commend Dr. Patton, all of those who are involved to get us to this point, to where we are today, because what we have achieved, and it's not just one person, it's we. It's a community. And a community can make up a state, a county, a city. So that's the community that has come together to get us where we are today. And I want everybody to know that for many years, a portrait of Dr. Mays hangs in the State House, in the House of Representatives. And you wouldn't believe the many people that don't know who that is. I have many people ask me, who is that? I said, that's Dr. Benjamin E. Mays from Greenwood County. And then it strikes a little thought in them. But to look at it, they don't know who he is. But he overlooks the House floor and has done so for many years. So today, we will have him overlooking Greenwood County on Hospital Street in Greenwood, South Carolina. Right across from me, where I can watch him every day. So thank you all involved. It's given me great pleasure to watch this progress of the house, of the museum, of this park to develop to where it is today. May God bless us and each of us remember this great historic day.
The song Miss Rhines just sang was I Was Here. The lyrics go, I will leave my mark so everyone will know I was here. We're going to learn a little bit about Dr. Mays' legacy at Morehouse College through Reverend Dr. Lawrence Edwards Carter, Senior Professor of Religion, Dean of the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. Followed by Mays' legacy with Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated by Mr. Melvin Mitchell, 1st Vice District Representative for the mighty 6th District. Next, we will talk to you about the Mays statue development brought by Mr. Lloyd Sarton, our Curator, Director Emeritus of the Dr. Benjamin E. Mays Historical Preservation Site. Lastly, Christopher Thomas, our current Director of the Mays site, will talk to you about our future plans and hopes for this historical site.
On last evening, many of you warmly received the stories that I told about Dr. Mays. And even today, as last night, many of you have come up to me and said, "Tell us some more stories." Last night, I think I answered more specifically the question of what was Dr. Mays' legacy at Morehouse in terms of what did he teach the students. And I'm going to do that very simply now in a couple of stories. I want you to be aware that I think Dr. Mays emphasized most in the chapel. Strive to graduate students with a social conscience. And so behave as to command the respect of everybody, friend and enemies, with your deep humanity. Many of you may not be aware, but John Fitzgerald Kennedy nominated Dr. Mays to be the United States ambassador to Israel while he was president of Morehouse College. And on a visit to the White House for a state dinner, Dr. and Mrs. Mays went through the receiving line, and when they reached President Kennedy said to Dr. Mays, "Why didn't you accept my nomination to appoint you as United States ambassador to Israel?" And a little startled, Dr. Mays said, "I didn't know anything about it." Later he learned that Georgia Senator Herman Talmadge had blocked the nomination. In May of 1954, Dr. Mays arrived in Jerusalem, and he went to the home of some very good friends. He knocked on the door. The host greeted him and said, "Oh, Dr. Mays, we're so glad to see you. And let us quickly take this opportunity to thank you and congratulate you on the Supreme Court decision that eliminates segregation in the public schools." Whereupon Dr. Mays started to cry right in the doorway. And his hosts were surprised, and they said, "Come in, we thought you would be happy that this has happened." And Dr. Mays said, "I am very happy, but I'm also horribly disappointed, because I always believed that the desegregation of the public schools of the United States would come upon the demand of my beloved Christian church and not from the courts." I want you to let that marinate in order to understand the high expectations, the prophetic expectations that Dr. Mays thought should characterize a holistic Christian ministry today. But we have a tendency to elevate partial ministries to the level of whole ministries. That emphasis, I believe, is the heart of Dr. Mays' legacy to Morehouse College that continues until this day. Many people said last night, I wonder what Dr. Mays would have to say to Donald Trump. Well, don't get too excited. I'm afraid I do not know what Dr. Mays would have said to Donald Trump. But there is an experience that I'm aware of that might give you a teeny weeny bit of a clue. Some of you will recall the great tug of war between Joseph Harrison Jackson, better known as J.H. Jackson, the famous president of the National Baptist Convention, USA Inc., who held the presidency of that convention in the palm of his hand for over 27 years because of his powerful oratory. And he broke his promise about how long he would serve because he was enjoying the power and influence of heading that great body known as the largest body, organized body of blacks in the world. And of course, you might remember Gardner Taylor challenged him, and the preachers wanted to have a fair election. But Dr. Jackson was elected every time he spoke, and everybody was in a frenzy. He was automatically elected by acclamation by the whole convention because of his oratory. Well, after they had been told not to return to Philadelphia for another convention because it was so ruckus, they went to Kansas City, and that was the convention where the big election was supposed to take place. And of course, Dr. Jackson gave a powerful address and was reinstated by acclamation. And Dr. Mays looked over at Yvonne King at that time and said to her, "What do you do with a man like this?" That's all I have to give you on how he might have responded to Donald Trump. The last voice that was heard at the 1963 March on Washington, after King's powerful "I Have a Dream" speech, they wanted the last voice to be Dr. Mays. That is a fact that I think has been lost. Now let me rise above humility and have a commercial. I have published a paperback book on Dr. Mays by Mercer University Press. It's titled Walking Integrity. That book has 214 indented quotes from Dr. Mays in it. If you want to see Benjamin Elijah Mays stand up and walk in front of you, everybody tells me who has taken this advice that it will happen if you don't read my book, but simply flip the pages and read only the indented 214 quotes. It has even been proven at the Harvard University Divinity School, where the book was required reading. If you want to meet Mays, that's my commercial. In Dr. Mays' most senior years, and in 1982, he used to wear a cowboy hat. And the occasion where that hat was most noted was at the National Baptist Convention, USA Inc., in Los Angeles at the Staples Center. A great procession of Morehouse men escorted Dr. Mays down the center aisle into the convention. And I was given the privilege of guiding his wheelchair with him wearing his cowboy hat into that great arena. And when we got halfway down the aisle, Dr. T.J. Jimerson, the president, went to the mic and he said, "My brothers and sisters, it is my great privilege to present to you the greatest educator that Black Baptists have ever produced on this soil." And before he could finish the sentence, 30,000 people jumped to their feet, pulled from their pockets white handkerchiefs and waved them in the air and shouted, "Dr. Mays, Dr. Mays, Dr. Mays." It was one of the most moving experiences of my life as he came for the final time before the body that sent him around the world, representing them in ecumenical councils. A quick note. Dr. Mays told me something that I think you might find interesting. He said, "One of my favorite foods from my boyhood to now is eating fried chicken feet." He said, "The greatest sermon that I've ever heard, I heard at the University of Chicago in Rockefeller Chapel, delivered by Howard Thurman." When we went into Danforth Chapel to pay our respects to Dr. Mays, who was lying in state, I went in with Dr. Charles S. Finch III, professor at the Morehouse School of Medicine. And as we stood in front of the coffin, Dr. Finch said, "Would you look at this? Look at this. He is the spitting image of Pharaoh Amun Hotep III." So powerful was the expression on his face as he was reposed in ascension. Dr. Mays was named in the 1950s by the national edition of the Pittsburgh Courier one of the 100 most influential men in the nation. Men in the nation. Dr. Mays coached for 3 years debating at Morehouse, 1921 to 1923. His prize debaters were Howard Thurman, James Nabrett, and B.R. Brazil. Those teams never lost a debate. That is a tribute to the effectiveness of Dr. Mays as a gifted teacher. Senator Weich Fowler of Georgia got through the House of Representatives and the Senate legislation to have the Presidential Medal of Freedom conferred on Dr. Mays. I was sitting in Dr. Mays' presence when the word came to his home that Ronald Reagan refused to sign the bill. And so, let me end by giving you this charge to the citizens of South Carolina. Don't let this dream die. Perhaps a president after Trump will sign it. May God bless you.
Good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to bring you greetings on behalf of the Mighty Sixth District of the Middle South Phi Fraternity Incorporated, District Representative Brother Howard Jackson, and Epsilon Gamma Gamma chapter bosses, Brother Willie Forrest. We also have with us our District Keeper Reconcile, Brother Cedric Lucky. Would all the brothers of Omega Psi Phi fraternity please stand? Thank you, my brothers. You may be seated. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated is a beacon of public service and tireless commitment that has greatly enriched the lives of countless people and communities around the world. The founders stood on their strong faith, knowing that the formation of this great body of work would indeed change countless lives forward. We are so very proud to support the Statue Project, honoring the legacy and life of Brother Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. Brother Dr. Mays was initiated at Gamma Chapter. He also was a founding member of the Psi Chapter at Morehouse College. As we celebrate the dedication of Dr. Mays, we're reminded of his powerful courage and tireless sacrifices that set the trailblazing standards for all Omega men. He stayed true to the mission that was set forth by our founders. He is truly the epiphany of our fraternity four cardinal principles: manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. Today, it is up to the men of Omega to continue to measure up to the dreams of our founders and brothers like Dr. Mays. As we celebrate the rich legacy and accomplishments of Dr. Mays, we have to bridge the critical issues towards resolution. Young men and boys require example of strength, education, and leadership toward a productive and successful future. We must be the ever-present guidance of the journey into manhood. We must be their champion of education in and out of the classroom towards successful academic careers, scholarship. We must show them courage unparalleled and teach them how to address situations that can be the difference between life and death, jail or success. We must teach them perseverance as a way of continuing thinking and being. We must reach one and pull others toward the greatness that lies ahead of them. We must uplift them, embrace them, and show them unyielding love, compassion, and strength. These cardinal principles will serve as a roadmap to amazing and limitless opportunities if we step up greater participation and present leadership. This is the strength, breadth, and depth of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. We are at our best, like Dr. Mays, when we work beyond ourselves collectively towards making life better than we found it. Thank you.
It's a great day for the Benjamin Mays site. It's a great day for our city, for our county, the state, and really it's a great day for our nation. I remember about 6 years ago, right after the site dedication, we had right on the blacktop here, very hot day, much like today. Dr. Patton and I began to talk about placing a statue of Dr. Mays here at the Mays site. And I so appreciate Dr. Patton allowed me to come on to set this site up, giving me full reign, and I think we've made a pretty good team, Dr. Patton. And so it's been a pleasure for me, real honor of my life to be associated with the Benjamin Mays Historic Site. But we began to talk about putting a statue up. I know when Dr. Patton designed this site, he must have had in mind that this spot right here, this little green spot before we poured the pad and the 3 new sidewalks, was a perfect place to put a statue. So this is what we did. We poured the pad about 2.5, 3 years ago to provide a little impetus to get the project moving on. And so I just want to say how grateful we are to everyone who has donated to this worthy project. People who've donated $5, $10, by the hundreds, $20, $40. Many people have donated $100. We've had quite a few have donated $1,000, $2,500. But I remember early on when we were starting the fundraising effort, it was going a little slow. I think we had a couple $1,000s in the fund, and we had anticipated raising about $150,000 for the project. And so I was getting a little bit depressed, and one day, Miss Sally Warner, Dr. Mays' secretary, and her late husband, Dr. Clint Warner, gifted us, really gave us a lift with a $10,000 check. Miss Sally Warner, please stand. Let's give Miss Sally Warner a round of applause. She has not only given us some funds, but she has given us love, she has given us support, and really I don't think we could have stood this site up to be what it is in 2011 if it had not been for Miss Sally Warner. I know Dr. Pat and I went over to her house one day and stayed about 5 hours with a laptop computer and scanner, and we just kept on scanning documents and photographs. 8 hours, I'm sorry. As I would say in the Air Force, Miss Sally, I stand corrected. Much later on, the 96th District, which encompasses North Carolina and South Carolina, they honored us with a $10,000 gift. The 96th District, all the members of the 96, please stand and give them a round of applause. That was the 96 of the Mega Sci-Fi. Everybody knows that. And then our city, through the hospitality funds, gifted us $18,000 for the pedestal. And so we were very appreciative of that. Mr. Barano, he's here today representing the City Council. Would you stand, Mr. Barano? And the City Council also. And the Benjamin Mays family, they gave us a large donation of over $5,000. I'd like for all the Benjamin Mays family, please stand. I believe last count we had about 44 from Buffalo, Memphis, Cleveland, and Dr. Mays has one niece left. You know, he has no nephews. He's got some great nephews and great nephews. He's got one niece left. That's Miss Bernice Mays Perkins, and she's from Cleveland. She's a wonderful lady, Ms. Perkins. Okay, give Ms. Perkins a round of applause. She's 89 years old. And she was here for the dedication in 2011. We're so happy that she could come back. But you know what? I've got to be honest. We wouldn't be sitting here today. Really, we would not. If it had not been for one very large donation from baseball great Hank Aaron and his wife, Billy Aaron. And so they could not be with us today, but let's give them a big round of applause. Did I say they give $50,000? Yeah. Sally called one morning. I was opening up the museum at 8 o'clock, and she said, Billy Aaron wants to know how to make out the check. Well, it took me about 2 seconds to say, Mays Historic Site. So that was really a lift for us. And we would not be here today. We really would. But that gift put us over the top to where we could start developing specifications and preparing bids. And so that's what we did. We developed a community panel to review all the specifications and the bids. And it was very clear when all the bids were in that the award should be made to John Hare of John Hare Monumental Sculptors of St. Petersburg, Florida. He's a tremendous artist, and he's been great to work with, and he's been very patient. Within 2 or 3 weeks of getting the award, he comes on site to see where the statue is going to be, to look at the environment that Dr. Mays' statue will be placed into. So I really appreciated that. And he was very patient with us when we would offer suggestions early in the process of the mold of the face to get the facial distinctions of Dr. Mays accurate. So he was very patient. And so I think I'm confident that you're going to be very pleased with the product that you're going to see in a few minutes. But let's back up for just a moment. A few years ago, Dr. Patton and I talked at length how to present Dr. Mays in statue form. Perhaps taking a step. Perhaps reaching out as if he was going to shake a child's hand. We talked about his attire, whether to put him in a PhD robe or a business suit. We talked about Dr. Mays holding something in his hand, something that would have been the source of his strength and his moral authority as he traveled extensively speaking out about segregation in this nation. And you do know, right, that Dr. Mays lived almost his entire life in segregated America. So when Dr. Patton and I were talking about holding something in his hand, Dr. Patton had a brilliant idea, which resonated with me right away when he said it. Dr. Patton, you may remember that moment in your office. We wanted the statue to be inspirational and to reflect the essence of his life, to illustrate, if it were possible in some way, what Dr. Mays was most passionate about during his long life. Sure, he was passionate about Morehouse College for 27 years, taking it in 1940 following the Great Depression at the lowest point in its history, building it into a world-class institution. He was passionate about supporting Martin Luther King, his unique and unparalleled role in the civil rights movement. Dr. Mays was passionate about serving God and serving his fellow man. But I believe if one studies Dr. Mays' autobiography, his writings, listens to his speeches, he will conclude that the one thing he was most passionate about throughout his entire life was the need to abolish the immoral Jim Crow segregation laws that were put into place right after the Civil War, and to eliminate racial discrimination and lynching, which permeated the Deep South even into the 1940s. Throughout his long and remarkable life, he harbored a moral outrage against a system that treated African Americans as second-class citizens. He always maintained that segregation was immoral and evil. So, we would present Dr. Mays holding something that would have given him comfort, something that would represent the source of his moral authority as he challenged segregation and lynching during the difficult and dark days of the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the early 60s, when there was so much violence, racial hatred, and laws which prevented African Americans from enjoying the privileges that white Americans just took for granted. And at this point, you may be wondering, what is he holding in his hand? Maybe you're asking, is it a copy of the Declaration of Independence, which contains these inspiring and immortal words? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Perhaps you're thinking it's a copy of the U.S. Constitution, which speaks about forming a more perfect union. What about a copy of the U.S. Supreme Court decision, Brown versus Board, 1954, which officially abolished segregation in America? Soon we will see what he's holding in his hand. It has been said that Dr. Mays was without peer, traveling this nation, speaking out against segregation and racial discrimination. His famous sermon at Evanston, Illinois in 1954 at the Second Assembly of the World Council of Churches at Northwestern University in August of '64 brought international attention to America's racial problem. And it was this sermon that is credited with internationalizing the civil rights movement. Dr. Carter first informed me of that about 4 or 5 years ago at Morehouse College when we were discussing this. And he asked me, "You know what made that sermon famous, don't you?" And I said, "No, I don't really." And that's what he told me. And he also enlightened the crowd last night at Lander University about that fact that internationalized the civil rights movement in 1954. Think about that. That's a year before the Rosa Parks incident. It was a passionate, powerful sermon, interrupted many times with tremendous applause. I've given many presentations over the last 6 years, and I've never gone anywhere that I didn't play a little excerpt of Dr. Mays' speeches or sermons. So you've got a real treat today. You're going to hear from Dr. Mays. Just a 20-minute segment excerpt of that 1954 sermon at Evanston, Illinois. Dr. Mays is 60 years old.
For when we build fences to keep others out, erect barriers to keep others down, deny to them the freedom which we ourselves enjoy, we keep ourselves in, hold ourselves down, and the barriers we erect against others become prison bars to our own souls.
When people hear Dr. Mays speak, it grabs you, and they want copies of that. And I guess during the last 6 years, if I've sold one copy of that sermon, which is in a set of 7, I've sold 300. And we have those here today if you'd like a copy. I was pleased to give Dr. Moss a set of that earlier today. He said he did not have a set. Before I sit down, I've got one more thing to say. Dr. Vernon Burton is here with us today. Dr. Burton, would you please stand? He's from 96, Greenwood. Well, he became friends with Dr. Mays, and when Dr. Mays' autobiography, Born to Rebel, came up for reprint, the initial reprint, Dr. Mays asked Vernon to write a foreword, and he did. He wrote a piece of work, and it's in the Born to Rebel in the reprint. About 2.5 weeks ago, Dr. Vernon Burton was given the Governor's Humanities Award in Columbia, and Chris Thomas and I were privileged to be able to go to that ceremony, and we were honored to do that. And Dr. Burton's speech, we posted it, the entire speech, on the Mays Historic Site Facebook page, and I encourage you to read the entire speech. Dr. Burton, in his remarks, was very critical about the South Carolina State House grounds containing statues only to those who were on the wrong side of history, those who supported segregation, Wade Hampton, Ben Tillman. He noted that there are no statues to African Americans on the State House grounds. So at this point, I would like to issue a challenge to our local state senator, Senator Nicholson. Senator Nicholson, please draft a piece of legislation, get it passed, signed by the governor, authorizing the placement of a statue of Dr. Benjamin E. Mays on the grounds of the South Carolina State House. Senator, are you going to take us up on this challenge? He said yes. So, as has already been noted, somebody stole my thunder. I just wanted to say, and I'll say it again for those who may not have heard, this is the first statue of anybody in Greenwood County. There's a couple of busts around, but this is the first full-life statue of Greenwood County, and I think it's very appropriate because Dr. Mays is certainly, without question, Greenwood, the most distinguished person ever to come out of Greenwood County. And so now I think it's time for Dr. Mays' statue to be on the grounds of the South Carolina State House. Thank you.